what neighborhood in Toronto? Is it where are you compared to downtown in Toronto? Is it north?
So I live in Toronto terms in Toronto West in Little Portugal.
Huh.
Little Portugal, which is a very, very cool neighborhood.
A lot of Portuguese.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. You hear Portuguese walking down the street.
Wow.
I go to my Portuguese bakery and get Portuguese treats and good coffee and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What are some Portuguese treats?
I'm trying to remember the name of them because I always screw it up, and I would rather just not mispronounce somebody else's name in my awful accent. It's like there's a whole bunch of little pastries that are sweet and savory. The best ones, depending on what you like, are these sort of like custards and like a flaky crust, flaky buttery crust, and they're delicious. But you can also get savory ones, which are like sort of shrimp or cod and some spices, maybe some potatoes kind of rolled up within a pastry and deep fried. Really good bread.
We talk a lot about diversity, especially in music and the world today. Yeah. How does it look like in the guitar world?
It's bad. It's real bad. I should put in some adjectives, right? In the classical guitar world, which I think I'm the most qualified to speak about, it is not good. It's largely, I'll delimit it to North America, right? I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it's a bunch of white dudes. Yeah. It's a bunch of white dudes. We all tend to have fairly homogenous backgrounds. Well, a lot of us got into it for the same reasons and are doing it for the same reasons. Yeah. I have a lot of love at the same time for the classical guitar communities in North America. Yeah. They've been so kind to me and they've taught me so much and been very, very generous, So, again, all my love to them. And I think most of us realize that we are limited by our homogeneity. Yeah. Right? And I think a lot of us are trying harder and harder to be more inclusive, right? To, think very hard about the musics that we play and how we present ourselves, try to be more inclusive, try and make sure that more voices are being heard within our community. And there's been some really, really great work done, but
But doesn't that stuff start early? Doesn't it have to start somewhere else?
Yes.
Because we get to this point and now we're trying to be inclusive.
Right.
But
Right.
We have to start at a younger age, or somehow, as educators, as musicians now, we have to kind of promote that and be more accepting, I guess.
Without a doubt. I think you touched on this earlier as well in terms of how we can change education to make more of the people that get to our stage hireable and able to participate in the world around us, right? So I totally agree. I think so much of this has to do with the role models that people see on TV or on the internet, or the teachers that come into their classrooms when students are in elementary school or middle school. I think that as long as, for example, the guitar, a heavily gendered instrument, as long as we keep reenacting these stereotypes, where the electric guitar is basically just a phallus, right? It's just a stand-in for and that is something that dudes play, and it's all about like technical virtuosity and shredding and so on and so forth. And as long as it's, I suppose, celebrated in these highly gendered, highly masculinized terms, then I don't think that it's ever going to be an instrument that's deeply compelling for lots of women, for lots of people of color, for lots of people of non-sort of heteronormative, gender or sexual orientations, so on and so forth. It's such a white Anglo thing. And I think when we see role models of people that push against that, when those of us in the community that look like that, like me, I'm a white dude, white sort of able-bodied, whatever, Anglo guy, right? I think it's on us to be extra sensitive to just how much of the discourse we unconsciously shape and how much it is designed to benefit us. And we can be really careful in programming outreach. Outreach, I think, is huge, and start disrupting some of these patterns that have just been, repeated over.
Well, are there women in guitar playing world? Tell us.
Of course there are, absolutely, absolutely, and they've always been there, right? There's this idea that that just now in the classical guitar world we're starting to see like good women composer or guitarists, and they've always been there, right? They, you know, in the 19th century, the guitar was perhaps, if anything, gendered female for some terrible reasons, right? It was gendered female because it was an appropriate instrument for women to play, you know, because it wasn't something that they had to put in their mouths or so on and so forth. And this is awful, but the point is that there's female participation. In China, my understanding is that the guitar is largely gendered female as well. And again, you know, the fact that it's gendered one way or another is not good. But you know, there's some of the most important 20th century guitarists have been women. I think of O.T.P, who was, you know, maybe the best French guitar player of all time. And she had a wonderful career. She passed away young, unfortunately. Sharon Isbin, who has been at Juilliard, founded the guitar department there in 78 or 9 or 1980, something like this. You know, she's been a huge force. There's Lily Afshar in Tennessee. She's an incredible Iranian, maybe Iranian-American, I'm not sure, guitarist. People on the West Coast. I don't know. There's this, I think with so many of these histories, you know, the people have been there. We just haven't heard about them, right? Their stories haven't been told, and they're starting to be told now, and that's really, really awesome.
For the people who complain and say, well, if you're good enough, you're going to somehow get the opportunities and get the fame or get the gigs that pay. What do you say to that?
I say that, you know, I don't know. It's like I've got, we've heard this sort of thing before, right? And I think that just doesn't take into account the different ways that people see the same sorts of opportunities or resources. You know, I think, like, again, if I stick within the classical guitar world, right, like I was always able to show up at festivals and conferences and talk to people that look exactly like me and have the exact same interests and so on and so forth. I've never had that experience of walking into a room and I, for example, am the only, you know, I'm the only brown person in the room or the only woman in the room, something like this. You know, that can't be easy. And sorry for the 4-letter words on the air, but you know, I think to just assume that, you know, well, everybody's got 24 hours in a day, right? It's an equal opportunity thing. But, you know, these things are stacked to just favor certain people from certain subject positions. And until that's acknowledged, you know, I don't think we're going to be able to see an end to this bullshit, you know.